Jumbo and Habari, everyone. Welcome to night 4 of Kwanzaa, a modern celebration for 2025. I'm your host, Shonda Branch, the founder, CEO, and cultural creative of Living Kwanzaa 365. And I am so excited that tonight's guest is here with us. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about her, but first, let's go ahead and light our candles. So, Habari Gani, what's the news? Tonight's news is Ujamaa. As we light our candles, we begin in the center with Umoja, which means unity. And then we move to our first red candle, which is Kujichagulia, meaning self-determination. We move to our third green candle, Ujamaa, which is collective work and responsibility. And on tonight, on our fourth night, we lift up Ujamaa, which is Cooperative Economics. Y'all, our money matters. Our money matters. And our guest tonight is a living example of how we are going to unify ourselves, how we are going to determine for ourselves how our money works for us, how we're going to work collectively to make sure that happens. Our guest today is Yolanda Gardner. She's a financial wellness strategist, a consultant, and an innovator. She's committed to transforming how people think about money and how they build wealth. Her work integrates financial strategy with mindset, emotional well-being, and cultural awareness to create abundance, embrace thriving, and building sustainable wealth. Friends, please welcome Yolanda Gardner.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm so glad that you're here. You are one of my newer friends and one of the relationships that Kwanzaa has pulled into my life. I'm extremely grateful that you're going to spend a little bit of time with us this evening.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Excellent. So let's dive into it. Let's talk a little bit about Kwanzaa and how it has showed up in your life. Are you familiar with Kwanzaa? Are you a regular celebrant, or is this something new to you?
So I was introduced to Kwanzaa back when I was probably in the 5th or 6th grade. I did a Delta Gyms or Delta Academy program. And, of course, we celebrated for one of our programs. And it has shown up throughout every part of my life. All of the principles I live by on a daily basis. I personally don't celebrate, but the days throughout the year, but I truly do live by the principles every single day. And it definitely has a lot of impact in who I am. And, I have a 7-year-old son, and I'm trying to teach him these principles as well and to live through these principles as well. So I'm excited.
That's awesome. You've just been promoted to the birthday party list because I also have a 7-year-old. And we are ingraining all of these practices and principles into her life as well. We'll get into like motherhood and where this touches. It never fails. But I would love to talk a little bit about tonight's principle specifically, because this is clearly your wheelhouse, Ujamaa. The formal definition that we're given is to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses, and to profit from them together. So let's unpack that a little bit. What does Ujamaa mean in your universe?
Yeah, so essentially, my biggest focus in whether I'm dealing with individuals, businesses, small businesses, big businesses, is financial wellness, right? And when you have financially well people, they spend money. And when you have financially well businesses, they spend money, and they can, create this ecosystem of, philanthropy within in the communities that they're in on a small and big scale. And so when you think about the principle, maintaining our own stores, shops, and businesses, and really understanding what profiting means. It means that the dollars start to circulate through the community, right? It means that the dollars actually benefit those who are actually spending money with you. And so I'm really excited to talk about it because, at the core of it really is that financial literacy and financial wellness. And if people start to understand how their money actually can make an impact, first in their household, then in the biggest parts of, the businesses that they might be able to start, the businesses that they patronize, then they will really understand what the power of the dollar. In our Black community, we have what, $1 trillion in spending power, but we don't know that, right? Because we live in our individual silos. And so when we really start to understand the power of that dollar, we start to move differently. So oftentimes, what I talk about is making sure that your household is good, right? Making sure
Mhm.
that you have a financially well business, and then you start to circulate back in. And again, like I said, you can do things like philanthropic things. When I first started my business in 2021, one of the first things I did was a backpack drive for the community in Greensboro, and we were able to help over 200 families get all of the backpack and back to school supplies that they needed without having to worry about anything. And so, I've tried to do those little things here and there each year. I've done meals where we've literally cooked the food and like given it out to homeless people. And so it's in those small but very impactful ways that you can demonstrate Ujamaa in your everyday life without having to be a millionaire or a billionaire, right? So
I
your dollars matter.
Absolutely. There's a lot of talk about seven figure and multi seven figure, and people think that that is the marker or the only marker for success as a business person or success as an individual. Can you talk a little bit more about how these micro impacts can come out of your everyday actions?
Oh my gosh. So, yeah, when you think about these micro impacts, right? One of the things that we look for these days is quantity,
Uh huh.
right? And what we really should start looking at is the quality of the impact that we're making. And so a lot of people are like, I want to, make a certain amount of money. Okay, but what's the quality of the experience that you're providing to people around you, right? What is the quality of the experience that you are even providing in the household that you're in? Like, a lot of people don't understand your first ministry is really in your household. And so, right, in your home.
Yes.
And so if they're getting the scraps of you, then you're not financially well. You're not living in this space where you are creating a good ecosystem to show that you can have a positive relationship with your money. And whether you are a 9 to 5 employee, whether you have a business, whether you know how to work the stock market, and you go in there, you get your money, you get out, whatever it looks like, it starts with understanding that regardless of um what those small things are, your small impacts become greater because then you start to mobilize those around you. One of the things that, like, I've been in this industry for really about 15 years, and
Okay.
people around me, they get sick of me talking about money. I mean, they do, but when they
Well,
look
come
at the
sit next to me then, girl.
when they look at those interest deposits in their account, when they look at how, their investments are growing, when they look at their thriving businesses, it really starts to make people understand that it's bigger than you. And if we think that it's about us, we're doing it wrong, right? When we're
Wow.
thinking about generational wealth, it's generational for a reason. It's not just about you being here, it's about those who are coming behind us. And so if we can create these economically stable, financially resilient ecosystems around the businesses and the shops and the stores, you won't see, you know, having to sell your family's businesses, having to sell your family's properties, right? Or if you do, then that again, it creates a generational situation for you where that money then starts to fund the generations after you. But because, we are just now starting to understand the impacts of money, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we are probably like one or two generations removed from people who were impacted by slavery, right? And so because of that, we are very much learning on a daily basis about what this money means for us today and what the money means in the future. So I literally have been studying a lot on like the mind and money connection when it comes to how people actually deal with money. And a lot of the things that I talk about and the way that I approach my clients is, while money is a very physical thing, there's a lot of money mindset that informs how we actually deal with what we're spending money on. So literally, I don't know if you have threads, but there was literally this big conversation about somebody buying a Coach purse and getting excited about a Coach purse. And why would you be excited about a Coach purse? And it's like, okay, oh, right? Like, if I want to just spend $120 on a bag, I'll spend $120 on a bag. But
That.
instead of $1,200 or $12,000. But we really have this thing. It's like we want to go straight to the top and
Yeah.
miss those foundational building blocks. And I think it's very important that we start literally with the basics and make sure that we have an understanding of what our money is supposed to do with us for us here. And then how do we make sure that there's, again, generational impact for the long term so that we can have those sustainable businesses? We do have that sustainable wealth. Our children's children can experience what financial wellness feels like, but also have those principles under their belt so that they live a financially well life.
That's right. And that they understand that the finances, the money, like you said earlier, it's not just for you. It's for the community. It's for all of us to be able to thrive and to move forward and to move ahead. I I'm curious now. You've talked about your clients and you've talked about how your approach works for them. But my question now is, what's the one thing that like Black people in general are missing? What's that one piece of information that could flip and unlock some stuff for us as a people? What are we missing?
That's good. I would say a plan.
Ah, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Most of us are just living day to day. Most of us are just surviving. I won't say most of us, but you have a child. Like, you understand when I say you're married, you have a child, and so we are literally day to day making sure that everything is running, and we're not thinking about 10 years from now, right? When your child is getting ready to go off to college, or when your child gets ready to start driving and they want their car, right? You're not thinking about that right now because you're just thinking about today or next week. And so the absence of a plan really is why we have such a hard time closing that wealth gap, because we don't know what we're doing with our money and we're not making that money really work for us today. And so one of the things I talk about is really slowing down, pausing, right? Look at where you're spending your money. Do your money habits align with your values? Right?
Yeah.
And we go back to all these values. We
Yeah.
talk about this Kwanzaa, but is that where you're spending your money, right? Now, I will not lie. I don't care if I'm making 500,000 or 50,000. I'm getting on a plane and traveling somewhere, okay? Because that's one of my
Amen.
I
Amen.
love to travel, right?
Yeah.
But I always have a plan around my travel, and that's something it's really valuable to me to be able to do that, and it really refuels me in a way that because I learned what refuels me. I start to
Yeah.
dig into people's lives and understand, like, what is it that you value so that you
Mhm.
spend money guilt free, right? We do so
Oh,
much
that's good.
money. We spend so much money, and then we're like, that buyer's remorse, and
Buyer's remorse.
I'll do it, right?
Did I need
But
it in every color? Here's
seriously, this
the.
cardigan, I did, right? But did I? And do you need another pair of black shoes? Do you need another black dress, right? And really looking at my own habits helped me to then start to understand this is something that a lot of people are dealing with. It's not just me. And that's where, my work comes in, because I come from a place of empathy when dealing with people and their money, and really helping them understand, like, you're not alone. And just because you don't know what you're doing with your money, guess what? You can figure it out. You just have to put systems in place. So if you want to be able to save, but you don't know how to, the easiest way to do it is to start with something small, incremental, right? You just want to learn how to save, start with $10 a month. You know that you're going to spend $10 at the store on a soda and some chips. So forego one day, okay, on
That's it.
soda and chips, and just put that away each month. You'll start to realize, once that habit has been sustainable and you're automating that, where
Mhm.
it's like, oh, I can put more away. Okay, this is not as hard as I thought. opening up those retirement accounts, right? If you have like a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA, like a Roth IRA for people who are under 50, it's such a powerful tool to use for saving because all of that money grows tax free for you. And a lot of people don't utilize it because they don't know the power of how to optimize their money and how to actually plan for the future. So, all of that to say, the thing that people are really missing is a plan, right? And if they have a plan in place, you really take the thought and the emotion out of making decisions around your money because your money has a job to do for you. Just like you have to, do a job, you have to go and show up for a business every day. Your money is doing the same thing for you. And so are you going to see the impacts of it in 3 months? No. But will you see the impact of it in 3 years? Absolutely. Right. So yeah, that's really what we're missing is a plan. And that's where
and I can imagine that because I know I've gone and we've sat with the insurance guy and this, that, and the other, and you sit and you do all this paperwork, and it can be a very intimidating experience when you are sitting in those big old school boardrooms with the mahogany desk and that old like that navy and burgundy wallpaper with the fake books in it, and like the environment as well as the people who you are having to entrust that work to, and the people who are asking you these questions that can feel very personal and judgmental in those moments. I can imagine that I would be much more comfortable sitting with you, somebody who looks like me, somebody who has a common experience, somebody who knows where I'm coming from and may have a better idea of what my needs are. I can imagine the difference that it makes. So, I think also finding financial advisors in our community who we can trust is going to also move the needle for us a little bit.
Yes, and let me give a little tidbit about this. And I'm glad that you brought this up because I am too a licensed financial advisor. And one of the reasons why I actually have a business doing financial consulting is because there was a regulation that they came out in like 2020 that was called Regulation Best Interest. And so it used to be before 2020, people could have access to a financial advisor. They can go and reach out to whoever their family person was. Well, in 2020, what happened is this Regulation Best Interest caused a lot of financial institutions to raise the amount of money that you have to have from a little bit, like 100,000 in investable assets, and it really was like no limit at that point in time. But now you have to have upwards of $500,000 of investable assets in order to even be able to access a financial advisor. And so that's where I saw the opportunity to start to educate people because you don't know that as a regular, everyday person, you don't know that. The reason why it seems so much harder to get information and to get people to talk to you is because there are a lot of things going on in the background that are really impacting your lives and impacting your access to information.
Yep.
Okay. That keep you and your future generations in the same situations, right? And so, yes, I have had my life insurance. I have life insurance background, personal lines, like everything financial planning wise, I have had a license for it. And a lot of it is because I wanted to make sure that as I was learning, I was also applying, but I'm also teaching people along the way because yes, okay, while you may have like one part of your life in good shape, if you don't have that life insurance, you can kiss that generational wealth goodbye, right? That term life insurance is going to help you subsidize, right? If something happens to you prematurely, which is usually like before your children are at a point where they are self-sufficient. And a lot of these conversations are not being had because people, number one, don't know. And number two, how many insurance salesmen was knocking on your grandparents' door and your parents' door. And then when it came time to pay out those policies, it's like, oh, I don't know. Right. So there's a lot of distrust. And that is why I have tried to leave the industry multiple times. I will not lie. And, like God keeps redirecting me like, hey, I done sent you here for this reason. You are part of exactly, what today is building that cooperative economics and really teaching people the importance of, having their own thing, having their own stores that they're shopping at, those community things. If you look around you and, literally, if you look around you, community is everything, right? But
It
community
is.
is starting to look like corporations. It doesn't look like us anymore, right?
Wow.
So corporations have, you used to go to the candy store, up the street,
On the corner.
on the corner, and get
On the
your little
corner.
pop, get your little candy after school. And where are those people now, right?
I
And
just saw an article about the Candy Lady and
mhm,
how that was an economic powerhouse,
yes,
and it's gone. Like there's no more Candy Ladies. Like the
mhm,
kids, first of all, don't come outside. Let's start there.
yes,
Don't go
yeah.
outside. But second of all, like they don't know. Oh yeah, the house with the green door is where you go for your flips or your lily dillies or your scrapers, whatever you
Or your
call it
little
in your
the freezies.
the freebies. They're all the same thing. It's wild. My friends from different regions, depending on where they grew up, had a different name for the same thing. But that in-home cottage home, you know, that business, it's very, very rare these days. And
Yeah.
Candy Lady was making plenty money.
She was making plenty money and she stayed stocked up. And when
Hmm.
she did not have my sour powers, I was like, listen, don't let me come here another day. You don't have my strawberry sour powers because,
It was
okay,
high
that's not
five.
my window.
It was high five cookies. They're like ginger cookies, but they had the pink icing on them.
Mhm.
Man,
Yeah,
I'm saying,
yeah,
and
yeah.
when your mom put that dollar in your hand, because back in the day, a dollar would get
It's
you
for money.
some treats, plural,
Hmm.
some treats, right? These days, like you need to put something with that dollar to get anywhere.
Make it enough.
You gotta stretch it, fold it, and then stretch it again. Uh, but when my mom put that dollar in my hand to go down the street to the candy lady, she was well aware that she was supporting Miss Johnson
Yeah,
down the street, Miss Jackson around the
yeah,
corner. She knew where that dollar was going.
yeah.
And I think that pulls us to the cooperative part of that definition, cooperative economics. Um, we are, I, I am looking forward to the new year. I've already picked my one word, and
Ooh.
I don't know if I want to spoil it or not, but it has a lot to do with just basic lifestyle and where I'm spending my money. And I have found that, in order to get what I need, I've got to search high and low and far and wide to sometimes find a black vendor, to sometimes find a black business that's in that industry. And I don't know that everybody is willing to do that work, number one. And that number two, we're doing a good job of sharing that information.
Mhm, mhm.
So, how do we mobilize in such a way that we know our Black businesses and we are supporting them consistently?
I love the word consistent, right?
Hmm.
One of the things that on an individual scale is when you find it, tell somebody, tell everybody that you know, right? Because word of mouth is probably the most powerful thing in business that we can build from. Literally, when you find something that you love, talk about it, promote it, tell everybody like it's the best thing ever. If you have some type of critiques, tell the business owner, go to them privately and say, hey girl, hey guy, there's this thing, I really like it, but can you think about doing it this way? Or can you think about the service delivery this way? Because they don't know if you don't tell them. And then, oftentimes we're real quick to be very critical
Yeah.
and very public, right? And so, just being willing to be patient because again, you got to think about these more established companies. They have had
Hmm.
access to capital, they have had access to knowledge, they have had access to a lot of things that have been withheld from the Black community for years,
That's
things
right.
that are still trying to be withheld from the Black community now. If you think about Fawn Weaver and Uncle Nearest, right?
Hmm.
The receivership that they're going through because, a Black woman in the whiskey industry, how dare she? you
Right.
know,
But
but
she has
it's,
the nerve.
yeah, like she's got the nerve, and now, they are constantly trying to throw her name through the mud. If you think about, a whole lot of other,
Lanny
historical.
Williams in Actively Black is another great example.
Mhm.
Around Christmas time, he put out a video, and I commented, I was like, wait, 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 we got you. the tribe is here, and we're going to stick with you, because he was taking accountability because the company failed to meet all of the orders in time for Christmas. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you're not Nike. Nike has that stuff sitting in a shelf. Nike has 10 bajillion employees to process it. Nike has their own transport, and they've got a lot of stuff that we as a Black enterprise don't have. And so it's really interesting that you phrase it that way, because I'm also one to advocate, like, if you've got an issue with the Black business, let's go talk to the Black business. Let's not blast them and perpetuate this myth of substandard quality or substandard service from Black businesses. Let's just not do that.
Yep. And I'll tell you, I was at the Forbes BLK summit back in October, and Brandon Blackwood was there. And when Brandon Blackwood, he has self-funded his whole entire enterprise. And we talked about, like, what does that look like compared to people who start to get investors and venture capitalists involved. And a lot of it is like he gets to maintain his creative control. He doesn't have to give that up to anybody. Mm-hmm. But if you think about Mayo Organics and just all these companies that have tried to scale up because they have been successful, but then they're trying to scale up into that next level. You lose all the control. You can't control a lot of the things that you want to when you get the access to the funds that you want to become, more scalable. And so what that looks like is people making hard decisions about, okay, do I maintain creative control over my business, or do I give that control to other people? That's not something that's talked about. You don't really find that out until you get to a decision.
You've got the piece of paper. The guys in the suits are sitting across from you in that same boardroom with the mahogany table and that ugly wallpaper, right? And the paper is in front of you, and you are pressed in that moment to make a choice. That's that's a lot to think about. So how can we? I'll pull the conversation this way. I am a business owner now. I am now a full-fledged CEO, living Kwanzaa 365. I've got my paperwork and everything back from the state, and like, it's on paper, it's a real thing. As I start this entity, I am indeed having to self-fund, and there are lots and lots of challenges that come along with that. And there are lots of hidden costs to business. So as a business owner, how can we work cooperatively to ensure that we can launch and sustain these businesses so that they can scale and grow?
That's such a great question. This is two parts. The first part, I'm going to say, make sure that you're not jumping the gun, right? So if you have a 9-to-5, let that 9-to-5 be your first investor. Okay? Yep. So build your business 9-to-5. I mean, build their business 9-to-5, and then from 5 to 9, you're building yours. Okay? Don't ever jump the gun when it comes to your financial stability in your household. And I say that because if you do, you'll find yourself in a place where you are then desperate to make money. Can't make good business decisions from a place of desperation and from a place of scarcity. It's impossible. It's impossible. So have that foundation set. 3 to 6 months of expenses saved up, because it takes a while to actually position yourself, right? The other thing, on this other end, I would say start to position yourself. So prior to, going to the deep end, tell people about what you're doing, because in addition to your 9-to-5 being your first investor, your family and your friends can be your investors. And if it's simply buying my product or telling people about my service or signing up for my events, that's something that actually is a part of funding your business, right? And then the other thing is, if you're telling people, they're going to be talking to somebody like similar to what happened with our situation and how I ended up here today, right?
Absolutely.
Right. There was a need that needed to be fulfilled, and you called up a resource. Hey, Dr. Renita, called up a resource, and she was like, I got the person for you. But if I never told her what I do, and you never told her what you need, how would we have gotten to the point where we were able to show up?
Exactly. The network. Um, I think the network is absolutely critical to our everyday lives, but especially in business.
Mhm.
And I'll go this far, especially as Black women in business.
Especially as Black women in business. Yes.
We've got
But
to have a network. We've got to be in connection with each other, and we've got to be actively sharing with each other.
at
Like, this is
all
what's working for
times.
me right now, or this is this. Don't do this. I just made this mistake. That don't do what I just did.
Yep.
And I'm in a business incubator. I'm part of a coaching program, a mastermind, and the Black women in that mastermind have circled the wagons. And when I tell you, like, the impact there, and the leadership that we're getting from our coach is phenomenal. He and his team are giving us really good sound advice because they've been there, they've done this. They are teaching us that what they know works, but the friendship and the collaboration and corroboration that I've had with the other Black women in that group has been phenomenal.
I'm going to tell you, your network, it will open doors for you that
Mhm.
you couldn't even imagine. Like, just in general, um, I won't even, it's your network, but it's also like what you're willing to pour into your network without
Absolutely.
the expectation of getting anything necessarily. Building those relationships is very important. Like, I just recently moved to Charlotte, and yeah, and just being here, I have expanded my network. I've been here maybe like 3 months, and I've expanded my network in ways that I really had planned to do. But like being in the position that I'm in now, I'm able to expand my network to the point where it's like I get to show up as who I am, like authentically. And there are people who are ready and willing to just dive in and say, okay, how can I help you get to where you want to be? How can I
Yeah.
help you to, meet what you have to get done? And there is really no, it's kind of like a reciprocity, it's like,
Mhm.
I can't really describe it. It's not pretentious. It's not like a leech situation, it's very much like a learning environment. And but you being in the coaching incubator is really good because yes, it does help you learn a lot of the lessons that you might have to learn the hard way.
Right. That's right.
Without that. But I'll tell you that one of the biggest, as a business owner that you can do is really just talk about what you do. I'm going to tell you something like one of my biggest mistakes I've made this year.
Oh.
So, I told you I went to the Ford LK back in October. Well, two
Okay.
things I did there that I thought, I said, no, I'm not doing this anymore. So the first thing that happened, okay, so I was sitting in the front row and Tyrese Gibson came
Uh-oh.
and sat beside me, like rubbing elbows, like ha 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 ha, laughing, and I did not get a picture with him. Now he is one of my favorite, okay, favorite singers, and I did not get a picture with him. And I said,
Oh.
"Oh, baby, you will never miss an opportunity like that again because it
Mm-mm.
may not come back around, right?"
That's right.
But then Don Peebles was there, and I don't know if you know Don Peebles, but he's a real
Uh-huh.
estate mogul.
Yeah.
Okay, and so he was there, and so I went and I took a picture with Don Peebles, and I was like, I don't know what to say. I don't have anything to pitch. I'm talking to a billionaire and I don't know what to say right now. And when I left that summit, I said, he will never again catch me not talking about my business. And I knew what to say. Like, I've had my business going on 5 years, right? But being that in that proximity and not opening my mouth, I was like, girl, listen,
Yeah.
I don't care what you got going on. You're going to tell any and everybody who will listen. And that's something I've been teaching, my mentees, like tell everybody. I don't care if it's 30 seconds of boom, boom, boom. Who are you? What do you do? How do you drive impact? That should be what you're talking to people about every time you meet somebody because you never know who's ready to fund your purpose, your business, and your dreams.
You're absolutely right. And it's one of the things that my husband jokes that I'll talk to anybody. Hello, dog. Hello, cat.
Hello.
He's like left me in a room, walked away, done what he needed to do, came back. I'm in a conversation with somebody, and he's like, "Who was that? I don't know. I just heard them. Do you know someone?" No. And so that's never been a problem for me. I'm happy to have conversation. But what I have found is that when it's time to speak up and say the thing that I do, I all of a sudden get shy. And I don't know what that is. That's a mindset thing that I'm having to break through. And again, I'm transitioning from one career into a new career path, and feeling like I don't have enough, or that it's not ready, or that or that I'm just in the fledgling state. And down talking is the other thing. Like, I'm like, oh, well, I have a little. Well, I'm just doing. We got to cut that nonsense out.
Side business. Oh, I just do. No, I do. And I am, right?
Mhm.
Because when we downplay it, then we're giving someone else permission to also downplay what we do, right? And if
Absolutely.
we can't show up confidently, especially as a Black woman,
That's it.
if
That's
we do
it.
not show up confidently and sell it, who will believe us when we say, listen, I have the key. I have a prime product, a prime service that's going to transform your life. And you have to buy this today, because guess what? Today's price is not tomorrow's price. And
It is
so
not.
who's going to do that for you if it's not you? And that's
That's
what I've
it.
had to learn as well. And Dr. Renita has been a huge part of that.
Listen, my sister Queen will get you all the way
Oh,
together. And she does it without even like she never misses a beat. She stays right in rhythm and gets you together, and then you're like, oh, that just happened. It takes a second sometimes for it to wash over.
it
But
does.
I think it's absolutely imperative that we practice with ourselves, and that we practice in low stakes environments.
Yes.
When I go to events at my daughter's school, when I go pitching
When
and
I'm
practice
talking to my
with the other
son,
mom.
because now, so I'm sure we're going to transition into this sooner, talking about generational stuff. But
Absolutely.
I bring my son into spaces, and he will see me work. He's like, "Hey, mommy, what you doing?" And I'll talk to him about talking about money with him, and really bringing him in and being intentional about teaching him, because
Absolutely.
it makes a difference. Again, that knowledge, like I say this all the time. People who do not look like us, the little lighter skinned, fair skinned people,
Mhm.
400 years of knowledge has been passed down. Okay, so
Yeah,
not only is there a wealth gap, there's a knowledge gap associated with where we are today. Okay, and so the information that is being passed down to us is literally like 4 generations behind. And so we're having to kind of like swoosh, hurry up, learn it.
that's it.
The
That's it.
mind
And
can
thank
only
God.
learn so much. And so if you take that time and you are doing those things in the low stakes environment, and your daughter is seeing you do those things, she's also going to be very confident in showing up and saying, "Hi, I am, and this is what I love to do," or "This is who," it makes a huge difference. Like my son now, he's seen me on YouTube, he's seen me presenting, he's seen me write books, and he's like, "Okay, mommy, okay, your book is published now. We're getting mine next." Right?
I love it. I love it. I love
Yeah,
it. And
yeah.
Miss Thing has been in my videos. Like, she
Oh,
produced her own Kwanzaa special last year because she was like, well, mommy, it's time for us to do our video. Yes,
yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
And she took her little clips and stuff, and they had a Black History Month um, project that they opened up for the kids to do, and you could do any kind of project you wanted, did that kind of thing. And so she was like, "Well, mommy, I want to do Kwanzaa, and I want to." I was like, "Yes, 365, it's working. We talk about it every day." And
Okay.
it's landing when you see it come back from your kids without you having to prompt it. It's there. It's working. And
Yep.
so she chose to do the coloring book that I produced. We colored the pages as a family and talked about the principles. And at the end, she put a QR code to her video of her doing Kwanzaa last year,
Oh
and teaching
my gosh.
about the 7 principles. And I was just like, all
Yes.
right, thank you, Lord. Let's go ahead and dive in, since we're all talking about the kids. Like, as a mom, what do you feel is most important in terms of your Ujamaa practice? How, not just teaching your child, but like how you're showing up in your own household and perpetuating the importance of this principle. How is all of that happening?
Ooh, this year has been so fun because it has been a very interesting year where
Okay.
we've had to make different decisions about where we spend our money. So one of the things that I used to do with my son is we would go to a certain store and I would let him pick out a toy. I would give him a budget. I'll let him pick out a toy. Well, this year, said store decided to do certain things. And so we decided we were boycotting said store.
Mm-hmm.
And when I took the opportunity to explain to him what a boycott meant and why spending our hard earned money at that store was no longer an option,
Mm-hmm.
he has not asked since. And he literally will say, Mommy, we're not shopping at that store. We are not shopping at that store because they do not support us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. And so instead, I have, either tried to find Black businesses that we can support. I have also encouraged him, he has a 3D printer. So I encourage him to make his own stuff. Yes, and he is very creative. My child he started building like robot suits at 2. He's
Oh,
very creative. Yes. So trying to teach him to use his powers for good, okay? But
that.
really helping him harness and understand, like, during the summertime, he likes to go outside and sell drinks. Now, I have started letting him sell Gatorades and sodas and waters because he would also try to make like lemonade stand, like any kid wanted to do a lemonade stand. I'm like, listen, you're not sanitary enough for that, but I love it. And so I let him, I load him up and let him go outside and sell his stuff, and he make a little bit of money. His dad too, right? And so we are teaching this cooperative economics of what's in your community that can fund your dreams, because then it's either going into a savings account or an investment account, it's going to buy him something that he likes. And then the other powerful thing is not holding on to too much stuff. And
Hey.
when he gets new things, he already has it in his mind that he's going to be donating and giving away something else. And so this Christmas, he got a toy, and he had like, it was like 2 versions of the toy. He's like, well, Mommy, I have 2 of these now, and I really need to give one of them away to somebody who doesn't have one.
That's
So,
beautiful.
and so he started to understand how that circulate, how the things circulate. And like with his birthday, he gave a whole bunch of his toys to one of his younger friends who's like a year younger than him. And so he's starting to circulate his wealth because his wealth doesn't look like ours, right? But he's
That's
starting
right.
to circulate what he treasures and the things that he loves. He's starting to circulate that around, and he's starting to build those principles within his little ecosystem of being 7 and in second grade and those younger than him. And so in our household, like that's what we do. That's just how we go about doing things. You know, clothes that he can't wear anymore, he's ready to give it out to somebody. But that's also things that, we're giving to
Girl,
others.
because they grow so fast.
I'm telling
Lord,
you, look, I already have to get him new uniform clothes. I'm like,
I just bought shoes. I
I
just
just
bought
bought new
shoes.
clothes.
What did you work?
But he understands, right, that cycle in that ecosystem, even at 7. And that's
Yeah.
something I really take pride in because, he is an only child, and
Mm-hmm.
he pretty much is, I'll say he gets what he wants, right? But he's a
Yeah.
good kid. He's a great kid, and he's very generous, and that's one of the things that I really do appreciate about seeing how he operates is within that cooperative economics. Really, like he likes to make sure he takes a second snack to school in case somebody doesn't have one, right? Again, like addressing food insecurity at 7 years old, and that's not even something that he's necessarily heard, but he just knows, like, oh well, my friend didn't have a snack today. Let me do something to show up for said friend. And I'm just sitting here like, if we as adults were to do that, it would really change how we get to show up in this Black world of ours, in this Black ecosystem of ours, and would really strengthen our community in a way that we would not need. And I hate to say this, but like we wouldn't have to depend so much on the
Mm-hmm.
external things around us because we
Mm-hmm.
have it within our own community.
You're absolutely right. And I think part of the conversation that we had last night was having an expansive idea about community. Um,
Mm,
yes, it's our neighbors in terms of our address. Yes, it is the other kids and moms within the school that we go to. But how else can we think about community? Who else do we have commonality with? because I think that those are other ways that we can strengthen our networks and that we can grow and perpetuate our businesses so that we can come back into our own communities and circulate wealth. What are your thoughts about like just expanding how we think about community and what that means?
Yes. So I told you I just moved to Charlotte, and technically there is nobody in my community that's here.
Oh my, oh my.
I'm a lone wolf up here in Charlotte,
Woo.
but the community that I have here is so rich in the values that we share with each other,
Mhm.
right? The fact that, we get to talk about the future, and we get to, talk about how to set ourselves and our children up for, success in the future. We talk about the trips that we like to take. Community doesn't always have to be proximity, right? I
Mhm.
still very much have my community where I have my core four plus my family,
Yep.
but they're not here with me, right? And so my community now really is more of who I have grown to be, right?
Mhm.
It is people who are just more entrepreneur focused and business focused, and really more like future focused, whereas my community, like my foundation, they are there, but like they're just, they're my foundation. Whereas
Yes.
here it's like, yep, we are community and we are moving together in a united way. Okay, it's not eight different octopus arms moving in eight different directions. We're very much knitted, and we are like, these are the things that we value, and so this is what we do here. This is how we move forward here. And that has been different because I had felt a call to move for about 3 or 4 years, and
Okay.
in my mind I kept saying, oh my gosh, like I don't know anybody there, I don't have community there.
Yep.
I showed up to 2 events in 1 week and left with like 5 new just people that I'm like, no, you're going to be a part of my community. And very much, I was at a breakfast, and it has to be something important for me to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go to the breakfast because it was cold and raining,
Oh my
and I,
Lord.
you know, but I met some very like, and they were more, older and mature women.
Yeah.
But my community doesn't look like me, people who are my age, right? They
Mhm.
don't look like people who have children my age. My community here is very much like wisdom and knowledge and history, and and I'm pulling and on that because very much like you said with the incubator, that those networks and the cooperation with those people is going to look very different
Right.
from where I've been in the past, because up until now everybody's kind of been moving in the same direction, and then somewhere in there we start doing our own things, right? Like
I love
nobody.
your analogy of the octopus. It's we've got to stop thinking like an octopus and start thinking like a centipede.
Yeah, oh god, I hate centipedes, but yes.
Oh, right.
Yes, exactly
You can
that,
think
like
about it.
we are
You
moving
got to
in the
go from
same
the
direction.
octopus to the centipede.
Hmm.
I think that's critical. And just to circle back to something else you said, I think about the networks that you build and how they look and feel different. My daughter is very much like your son, and she's very, very generous. She's always thinking about others, and she invited her little friends to the birthday party, and they showed up, and I was like, oh, okay, we've got the Rainbow Coalition in here. To okay, hey friends. And she does it. She genuinely does not even think about it, but
Yeah.
she is the kind who just wants to be kind to everyone and wants everybody to be together. And she's got friends from church and friends from taekwondo and friends from chorus and friends from school, and everybody was in there having a great time together.
Yes.
But her convening of all of her little friends also convened all the parents.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, Luna is about the right size to catch some of Carly's church dress. Do y'all want some of his dress? And we were able to kind of connect and coordinate. And, she's got toys that can go to that network. And it just perpetuated, like you said, this little ecosystem. And that's why earlier, before we hit record, I was like, okay, you've made the birthday party list. So you don't have to
We're gonna
come
be
over
there.
to Charlotte for the birthday party. But that network of people who are in a like phase, people who
Mhm.
have these young children, there's value in that. But
Yes.
there also, like you said, is value in having like your own board of directors of aunties who
Yes.
have
Yes.
been, who are past where you are. They're not coming to that birthday party, but they will send a gift. They'll send a check.
Mhm.
They'll send an investment
They're
for
gonna
the
put some money in
babies.
the 529, like.
It's 529. Tell us what
I
a 529 is for our friends who, because that's important.
Yes, a 529 is a college savings account.
Mhm.
And so, depending on what state you live in, really like you can open up one in whatever state. So like North Carolina has one, Massachusetts have one. If I want to open up a Massachusetts 529 college savings account, I can do that. And you can open it through, Fidelity, Charles Schwab, E-Trade, whoever is a investment company, you can open one up. But it's a really great way for if you are tired of like the consumerism impacting your children. That's a really great way for people to be able to save for the future. Now, it is for college expenses and K through 12 educational expenses. But if you want to do, like something that's not tied to college, you could do what's called a Uniform Transfer Minor Act account, UTMA. And again, either one of those, you can do it. The parent or the grandparent or the auntie can be a custodian. The child would be the owner and the beneficiary of the account. And yeah, like if you find yourself where you're kicking stuff over all the time and sick of stepping on Legos, that is another way
Child,
for people.
we have
That's a way.
avoided the Lego monster up to this point, but her friends at school are into Legos
Yeah,
now, and
yeah,
she's in a magnet where it's very tech heavy, and imaginative play and all of those things. And so they're building and coding, and they have robots and all the little pieces and the things. And I get the sense that like that is going to be the request going forward.
yes. Go on and pimp in your head trips to the Lego store. Uh,
So we dove into the, I know it's not black owned, but I did buy her black one. We dove into the American Girl pool, and a
yeah.
lot of it's nostalgic for me because American Girl came into my life at a time when I was like just on the other side of doll age. According to my parents, I absolutely would have flipped out for an Addie doll at that age. Um,
Absolutely.
Listen, there's a whole community. We'll have to get into that later. But I did buy her the American Doll and the treats and the things that go, the accessories, and so now there's a trip to the cafe planned and all of those things. And I think that we have to we have to think about saving in different ways because experiences are going to be a big deal for these kids. They have everything that they need. Our children have enough stuff. They've
Yes.
got enough stuff. Let's start shaping them with experiences. So, season tickets to the theater, in terms of Zawadi for Kwanzaa, the kinds of things that we purchase are from Black vendors or Black artisans, African attire, things that are culturally based. I'm going to be getting her tickets. This will be the first year that I take her to see Alvin Ailey as a dancer. That is absolutely like, oh,
I love a good Alvin.
foundational for me. And as a dance instructor, I have a former student who dances with the company, and so she's going to get to see one of mommy's
Cooperative
dancers on
Economics.
stage. And I would much rather buy tickets and merch from the show than, like you said, run in the bullseye and sweep a bunch of stuff off the shelves that we don't really
Me.
need.
Mm-mm.
So,
But that's so cool. And that's literally like the cycle of life, right? Like, what are and now your daughter's gonna get to see that, and like I used to babysit when I was in college, and when I lived in Cary, like the young lady I used to babysit, her sister, yeah, they used to babysit my baby.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
You making a little side money. That was your hustle, and
yeah,
that hustle has perpetuated, and you're able to pour into that. Like it's just lovely when you think about all the things that Kwanzaa truly brings into our lives and all the ways that it enriches us. It cannot be overstated that how the fact of the matter is this is a way of life that is simply good and right and correct.
yes.
It just works.
Honestly, I mean, it really, like, when you really think about it, if you operate in these principles on a daily basis, and incorporate them into your life, you have a fulfilled life. You know, it's a way that, again, it's like those values and those principles that you can literally create as a framework around your life. And you know what you choose to do within that framework is up to you, but the
Yeah,
framework is there, right? You
it
don't have
is.
to try to figure it out.
Nothing new under the sun. Um,
Mhm.
and just the joy that comes with knowing that you are doing right by yourself first
Yeah.
and foremost, for your own personal growth and life experience. You are doing the right thing for your family is growing tighter and more unified and more wealthy, and all of those things. Your community is being enriched, and it starts in the center, but it blows out into the nation. It blows out into our entire
The
culture. It
world.
blows out into a global phenomenon. And I think that that is just beautiful. It's just beautiful. So as we wrap up our time, I'm watching the timer. I do not
Oh,
want to
we got
stop. As we wrap up our time, there's one question that I'm asking every single guest this year, and it's become our tradition. I always incorporate this question at the end of our interviews. I would like for you to reflect on the theme that's been given to us by the founder. It's our official theme for Kwanzaa 2025 going into 2026. And it's a doozy. So I'm gonna give it to you a couple of times, and then we'll close out by talking about some of the cool things that you have going on. What are your thoughts on the theme for 2025? Practicing the seven principles in dimly lit times,
it.
lifting up the light, hurrying the dawn.
Oh my gosh,
One more
dimly
time.
times.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah.
got it. You got it.
So when you think about unity, right?
Mhm.
And I'm just going to go through all of them: self determination, collective
Absolutely.
work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, and creativity and faith. Okay?
Mhm.
You put all those things together, and it really does transcend beyond the natural eye, right?
Mm.
It transcends anything that we see going on today. And that's what we have to hold tight to, because everything that we see, if we look outside and look into society and look what's going on in the world, it's telling us a different story than what these principles tell us. And that's why it's important to have these principles in your life every day, because it serves as an anchor to being able to keep going in a unified manner, full of faith, right? Full of self determination. Because, I mean, listen, who does not want to lay in the bed all day and just, soak about things that are going on? Like, let's be clear, I got laid off twice this year. Okay. Right. And if it wasn't for these seven principles here, I would probably be somewhere other than talking to you. Wouldn't be in my right mind. But because of these principles, we have something that we can hold tight to get us through these very dimly lit times. It seems very gloomy. It feels very dystopian. It feels like there's no hope for tomorrow, but there's always a hope. There's
Yeah.
always hope. And if you do not lose hope, if you just give it a little time, all of this works for your good. And I know it can be very difficult to see that. And I know it can be very difficult to feel it when you're in the middle of it. But if you hold on to these principles, honestly, take one a day to just start with and focus, right? On centering yourself and allowing yourself to be with each one of these principles one a day. You don't have to figure it out all in a day. You don't have to figure it out all in a year. But at least if you know that you have this framework of these principles, then said dimly lit times, your light will be able to shine where you are, in any room that you step into, in your household, in your spiritual community, in your business circles, wherever you show up. These things will serve as a light for other people to then start to catch on to, and you will be able to serve as a hope and unify people. And that's what we need today, is truly like that unity. No matter what people look like, we need unity, and we need to be able to transcend what it is that we see in this day and time.
Oh my goodness. You just brought a word. You just brought a whole entire word. I am
Mhm.
so grateful for
Yeah.
everything that you've just shared because it's all true. It's all true. And, you know, I get on here and I preach about the seven principles all the time and living Kwanzaa 365 and why we need it. But to hear it come from other people and to hear it just placed so beautifully is really important. So thank you for that. Now, before we get out of here, I want you to tell everybody about this book.
Oh
Mind
yeah.
Rooted in Culture, Growing in Wealth. Please tell us about this book, girl.
Oh my gosh. So rooted in culture, money, mind and money, rooted in culture, growing in wealth
Mm,
is literally for anybody who has an idea about what they want their life to look like, but cannot figure out how to make it happen, right?
mhm,
And what I have found is when you root your decisions, your habits, your relationship with your money, if you root it to the past, you start to understand why you may make decisions that you make. Because oftentimes we're carrying things, trauma, generational things that are not even ours to carry, but it's just learned behavior. And so then it talks about the present and how it's important to then acknowledge what where we stand today and what it is that we don't know, so that then our futures we can start to grow our wealth and really be intentional about what it is that we want for our futures. And it's to transcend for the generations. This is not just for somebody who is just starting out, or it's not for the, that person who's in that mid-career phase. It's not even for the person in retirement. It's for everybody. And part of the reason why it's for everybody, because it's really because a lot of our money stories we have adopted from seeing other people deal with money instead of developing our own money. In this book, Mind and Money, Rooted in Culture, Growing in Wealth, will really help you start to untie yourself from those historical things that have informed how you deal with money and really start to build your own money story to get you where you want to be. So I'm super excited. It's on pre-order. We will be sending these out in January. And I'm just super excited about this book because it is a work of love. I have been doing a lot of research, especially through, clients and studies and, case studies. And I have a background in psychology. So, bringing in the mind and the money, it comes all in together. So I'm super excited for this book. And yeah, so go get your pre-order and you'll get it in January as a fresh start for the year.
I love it. We're going to make sure that link is available, number one. But tell us also about the Mind and Money Wealth Summit. That's going to be in April. So we've got plenty of
Yes.
time to plan and get
Yes,
into Charlotte.
it is actually going to be in Greensboro. The
Greensboro.
first one is in Greensboro, yes. And so last year I finally put one on, and it was the Mind and Money Financial Wellness Brunch, and it was amazing. People left out of there, and people have saved, and I'm not joking when I say they've saved tens of thousands of dollars. They started, their retirement accounts. They've increased money they're putting towards retirement accounts. They're paying off debt, and a lot of it is because that event just really fueled them to help them believe that they do have it within them to be able to reach their financial goals. And so this year it's going to be a wealth summit. I'm going to do a part one that's virtual to talk about what we talked about last year. But this year we'll be talking about how to optimize your income sources. So we'll have some people coming in talking about different ways to invest in real estate and the stock market, and really how to optimize your income as a 9 to 5 employee. We'll be talking about estate planning, and we'll be talking about insurance planning. And I'm pretty sure, oh yeah, and planning for like generational planning, so like legacy planning. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff on the agenda for that, and there are some other things that are coming, still being worked out. But I'm just excited for 2026 because this is the final year that you're going to say that you didn't know.
That's it. After this year, there's no more I didn't know or I didn't understand or I couldn't find it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I am so excited that these resources are getting out into our community and grateful that we are living in the times that we are with
Yeah.
everything going on. Thank God we have computers, we have the internet,
Right.
we have smartphones, we have programs. We have YouTube. We have programs
Yeah.
just like this that allow us to go and find the answers that we need. So thank you for that. Y'all, help me. Please, please, please help me, because I'm going to need more than just my two hands. So thank you to Yolanda Gardner, our financial wellness strategist, consultant, and innovator, author, mommy, and Kwanzaa celebrant. Y'all, give her another round of applause. And as we wrap up tonight, don't forget to come right back tomorrow. Listen, tomorrow we are talking about purpose with none other than Dr. Renita Webb, who we just shouted out. She's absolutely phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
To
the queen herself.
The queen, right? So help me welcome her. We'll be right back here, same place, 7 p.m. tomorrow night. Go back and watch some of the previous episodes. We have been having an awesome Kwanzaa celebration this year. And with that, I will wish everyone a happy Kwanzaa. Heri za Kwanzaa. May your Kwanzaa be blessed. Good night, everybody.